Yeah, man, this Looksmaxxing stuff is starting to get crazy. And I think the biggest issue with Looksmaxxing, literally the #1 issue with Looksmaxxing, is that they're actually right. I think if you are more of an attractive person, I think if you're an attractive person, life will probably be easier for you on average than if you're less attractive. But another big problem is the ways and the means that they tell people they should use in order to become more attractive are getting more and more extreme.
What would you rate Michael B. Jordan?
About 4 out of 10, maybe 3.5. Super facially challenged.
Ryan Gosling is a 5.75 out of 10 facially.
I would say Sydney Sweeney is very attractive.
I would say that she's pretty malformed.
I actually think the reason why a lot of dudes find Sydney Sweeney to be attractive is because she actually has flaws. I think that that's the attractive thing about her. I think that having flaws makes you seem more obtainable. It makes you seem more normal. And I think it also gives you identity. I actually think that there's a big issue with women trying to look perfect through makeup and through filters and sometimes even surgeries. And what happens is they all end up looking the same. They all end up looking like the algorithm. They all literally look like what the algorithm tells them the beauty standard is of the day and what they should look like. And they all end up just looking the same. So to be honest, I think the thing that actually makes her attractive to most guys is the fact that she has imperfections.
Spend a few minutes online and it's very easy to feel ugly. And in response to that, a whole movement has grown around trying to fix it. It's called Looksmaxxing.
Yeah.
For most guys, this involves grooming better, getting in shape, and ultimately feeling more confident. But we're seeing this being taken to increasingly extreme lengths.
I use crystal for hollow cheeks. And
so all of those before and after pictures they were showing us in school of people using meth, they were just all Looksmaxxing. Like, do you understand what type of childish logic that is? It's like me saying, the quickest way to lose 25 pounds is cutting off your arm. Yeah, you gonna lose the 25 pounds, but I guess that would probably negatively affect your Looksmaxxing score if you only have one arm, right?
I would say the trend is quite positive.
I've been experimenting on and off with bone smashing to see if I can improve my facial structure.
Well, that was the exact plot of a SpongeBob episode with Handsome Squidward. A lot of this isn't satire. Online, people are now analysing faces like stock charts, calling movie stars average, while kids are asking if they look subhuman.
Yeah, see, I think it's good that certain movie stars look regular. I think that that's fine. I actually think that it brings more life into the character that they're trying to portray. Like, I'm just sick of seeing these movies and shows that are supposed to be like medieval Europe, but then you see like a lady with Botox. It's like...
Older members even beg them to leave before it's too late. So what's going on? Why are men now breaking their own bones, injecting black market drugs, and gambling their health, all in the hopes of looking more like terror chads?
Dang, he had to give a disclaimer.
What do you think?
And the problem is that chat is 90%
What you just
men.
watched.
The chat is 90% men, and they're sitting here looking at a bunch of dudes that are over-groomed, staring into the camera while R&B music is playing in the background. And I'm sure for a lot of young people, this is just a bit. They see how funny this is, and they just watch it because it's hilarious to see this type of stuff. But for some of them, this is actually real, and it definitely leans on the side of, you know, that side.
Was a competitive mog-off, where these guys are trying to win the most amount of votes for who's the most attractive. If you want to increase your chances of mogging, you could attend Mogwarts, an online school for becoming hot. But it's not just niche communities. An increasing amount of actors, athletes, and even CEOs have completely transformed their appearances. I saw a photo recently of who I thought was Mike O'Hearn. I didn't even recognize it was one of my favorite authors, Matthew Walker, the sleep doctor. The male beauty and cosmetic industry has exploded over the last few years. So how did we get here? What makes a man attractive has always been multifaceted.
Yeah.
Researchers recognize key traits like physical cues, status, and personality. Looks have always mattered, but they were only one piece of the puzzle. But they've become increasingly emphasized with the creation of social media. Just look at this graph for how couples are meeting. In-person connections have fallen, while online dating has exploded. Now, you can meet people from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and it's not only the global competition, I also think it's the fact that people have low attention spans, and since picking the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with has become simpler than ordering a pizza, you only have like 3 seconds to impress this person that you don't know, and the easiest way to do that is to probably look good.
It feels more competitive. And as real-world social spaces have declined massively, many men started turning to the internet for answers. That's where free worldviews took shape. Blue pill, what most people people fall under. Dating is about personality,
Yep.
kindness, and connection.
Yep.
Be yourself and things will work out.
I think that all of those things are true, but I think when you look better, it's easier for people to perceive you to have a better personality, to show more kindness, and it's easier to connect with people because you're attractive and people want to be around you more.
Red pillars see this as remaining in a comforting illusion because they believe that dating is really about status, confidence, and dominance. If you level up, you can win. This is saying the true rules of attraction. But then there's a black pill. Your genetics and looks decide everything.
Yeah.
If you're unattractive, it's already over.
Yep,
A
that's
brutally
true.
fatalistic idea. As a skinny teenager, that idea felt bleak. I already felt unsure about myself. Everywhere I looked, I would see more and more fitness transformations where someone would completely transform. So I saw getting shredded as a solution to all my problems. I couldn't see it yet, but this was the beginning of a pretty unhealthy chapter
Okay, he
as a
getting
new
after it.
ideology was quietly growing.
Male glow-ups have reached new levels with the rise of something called Looksmaxxing. It's a TikTok trend taking hold of men seeking to maximize their physical appearance.
But it didn't start on TikTok. It originated in anonymous forums, filled with men who believed they were genetically doomed in dating.
Oh,
I think
man.
that every woman who encounters me on the street is inherently disgusted by me. I'm physically unattractive, I'm visibly autistic, and I have no experience speaking to females.
Many had felt ignored and assumed it was their looks that were responsible. So they started to wonder, how could they optimize them? In its earliest form, Looksmaxxing was extreme. Surgeries, drugs,
crazy.
anything that promised escape from being labeled genetically inferior.
Yeah, this used to be stuff that women did. Like, women were the ones that used to get all the plastic surgery and the fake boobs and the fake butt and put all of these chemicals in them that they can't even name or can't even say. But now I guess the guys have just gone, you know, if you can't beat them, join them.
What kept people locked into it was an uncomfortable truth. Looks really do matter, and studies back that up.
Yeah.
Hamimesh et al. Found that attractive individuals tend to earn 3 to 4% more than their less attractive counterparts.
Or
Wow.
58% of Fortune 500 CEOs are over 6 foot, even though only around 15% of the US male population reach that height.
Or Ruffle and colleagues have shown that unattractive criminals go to jail for twice as long as attractive
Dang,
criminals.
that's brutal.
Now, correlation does not mean causation.
Well, there was that one guy, I think his name was like Jeremy or something like that, and he was in jail and his mugshot went viral. And there were a bunch of women, even though he was a criminal, that started putting money on his books and protesting for him to get out of jail just because he was attractive. And then when he finally got out, I think he left the woman that he was with, maybe even divorced her if they were married. And now he's like engaged to some billionaire's daughter. So, yeah.
Privilege does seem to exist. Psychologists call this the halo effect, the tendency to assume that good-looking people are more competent, more trustworthy, and more valuable.
Yep.
So the forums tried to turn attraction into something objective. They built systems, facial ratios, skull measurements, and eye-shape theories, all designed to create a mechanical hierarchy of beauty. The most famous was a PSL scale, a ranking from 1 to 8.
Goes from subhuman, sub 5, Chad.
The goal of Looksmaxxing is simple: ascension. Move up the ladder, and to do that, there's 2 paths. Soft maxing, which is the more mild stuff you see on
Okay.
TikTok. Skin maxing, hair maxing, gym maxing. But then there's hard maxing. Permanent, often high-risk changes to the body. This includes jaw surgeries, performance-enhancing drugs, but also more extreme stuff, such as the brutally painful leg-lengthening surgery.
At around $100,000 for the surgery, with
Oh my
months
gosh.
of rehabilitation afterwards, this is not something to take lightly.
Imagine doing all of this, literally breaking your legs, which to me, I think should be seen as malpractice. I think if a doctor is going to break somebody's legs because they have body dysmorphia and they want to be a couple of inches taller, and that's the only reason why they're doing it, that seems like a malpractice to me, but I digress. Even the fact that you're breaking your legs to be a couple of inches taller just so your wife can have your son and for him to be 5'4", isn't that a little bit odd? Like, I think a big part of being a dad is to go through life and go through certain struggles so that when you have kids, their biggest advantage of having a dad can be the fact that you can give them information and a guide on how to operate through life because you've already dealt with those certain problems. And when your son comes to you as a 5'4" gentleman because he has your genetics and he goes, "Dad, I'm having these issues. How do I solve them?" What are you going to be able to tell him? Are you going to tell him to break his legs? And so, yeah, I think it's a malpractice, like to to break someone's legs because they just want to be a couple inches taller. To make money off of people's body dysmorphia, I don't think that's how you should be using these type of surgeries, because this guy, sure, his legs are going to be longer, but his hamstrings are going to be pulled tighter. All of his tendons and ligaments are going to be pulled tighter. So this guy won't even be able to go for a jog without pulling a hamstring. So yeah, he's going to be taller, but if he runs into a shorter guy that just shoots a double leg, he's going to be in trouble.
Some forms of hard maxing have become normalized, like braces or hair transplants. But because many of these procedures are expensive or age limited, some teenagers turn to extreme DIY alternatives. But before we dive into the darker side of the trend and its wider effects, a quick word from today's sponsor, Legend London. They make minimalist clothing.
Okay, gotta let the ad play. It's a respect thing. Get your money, brother.
Well-fitting clothing looks a lot better than loud branding. They design everything around a more athletic frame, broader up top, without the overly tight gym bro look. I've been wearing their stuff for years, back when skinny jeans was still a thing.
T-shirt.
It's one of the few brands where the quality still holds up. What I use the most now are their t-shirts. They stay soft and fit well around the chest and the arms, while being more relaxed around the waist, while also being weirdly stain resistant, as I found after spilling my drink down myself. They also make trousers in 3 different fits: relaxed, regular, and tapered. If you want to check them out, you can use the code BRETT for an extra discount. It also directly supports the channel, so we can keep making these videos. So thanks to Legend London for allowing us to research Max and edit Max this video.
All right, let's go.
Glow Up Transformations
lock in, boys. We
was
gotta
my
lock
first
in.
window into this world. There's these apps which you can scan your face with and generate these Looksmaxxing top trumps, with the goal of leveling up your stats. The most highest rated on the PSL scale are referred to as the PSL gods. Anonymous forums are typically edgy in nature. Not everything is to be taken seriously. There's a mix of trolling and genuine degeneracy, which is why news sites struggle to understand it. But beneath the memes are guys seeking advice. A lot of it boils down to losing body fat, skincare, and personal hygiene.
Yeah, and that's what we used to do when I was growing up. Like, Looksmaxxing was just laying out your outfit before the first day of school and putting on Axe body spray. That was like Looksmaxxing for us when I was growing up.
But you'll also find guides on how to maximize your testicle volume, how to lose a pound of fat a day with miracle drugs, and more obsessive posts, such as this kid who shared his photos, along with every single measurement from his body, only to be told by over 100 people that he is truly subhuman. With the top comment being, "I think you should take a break from this forum, bro." People can get quite obsessive, such as this guy who made a whole post about how he'd look kissing a girl. The top response: "Why do you do this to yourself?" But there's something sad about some of these posts. A young guy will post their photo along with a self-loathing caption: "Is it even possible for a human to look more subhuman than me?"
Bro, you're 18 years old. You're not even a man yet. You're still boyish. And that's the oddest part about this obsession. This is coming from people that haven't even given life a chance yet. Like, if I go back and I look at my pictures of me when I was 18 years old versus 30 years old, especially as a man, there's a massive difference. So you got to just give yourself time to grow. You not being attractive from 17 to about 24 is normal for most guys. That's normal. As you get older, if you keep yourself together and you stay healthy and fit, your beard starts to grow in, you start to get a little bit more income, you learn how to take care of your hygiene a little bit better, and you got more time to, because you have a little bit more money you're sitting on. As you get older, these things get better, and there's somebody that has to tell these young men this. Sometimes you just got to give yourself time to grow. Like, I don't understand why 17 and 18-year-olds are dooming like this. It's crazy. You haven't even tried life yet.
With questionable advice, inject T and human growth hormone ASAP, not even trolling.
Yeah, so you can look 30 when you're 20, and then when you're 30, you can look like you're 55 because you've been injecting yourself with all this BS. See, you see what I'm saying?
Rope you are to subhuman.
You're just speed-running life.
Very subhuman, look like vermin.
So the overwhelming majority of people said, well, basically that I'm unsavable, and the only recommendation for me is surgery.
Well, if he just got down to about 14% body fat, he would be able to see his jawline a little bit better. And even if he genetically doesn't have the best jawline, that's going to be his closest and best bet to getting towards that. Like, obviously, he's a thinner guy already, but he looks more like a skinny fat, where he might be a little bit more pudgy, and he doesn't have any muscle mass. He doesn't have broader shoulders or traps, and he probably hasn't worked out as much as he probably should. Getting down to 14% body fat is what most of Looksmaxxing is, and the rest of the nonsense that they come out with is because there are people who built their entire brands and have built their entire lifestyles based on teaching people how to Looksmax. And if Looksmaxxing is as simple as getting a different haircut, changing your clothes, and getting down to 14% body fat, it's hard to build a career off of that. So you have to come up with more and more extreme methods just to keep people involved and engaged.
I started posting in the bodybuilding forum as a 14-year-old looking for advice. A lot of it was decent, but you'd also get people taking the piss. But I stuck around because I wanted to do what it takes. Whether that's wearing joggers under my school trousers to look less skinny, or putting weights in my school bag. I even asked for fat calipers for Christmas when I was looking like this. Shame or feeling insecure can be a very powerful motivator for change. But for many, it becomes an unhealthy obsession, as indicated by this post, where a 14-year-old asked people to rate him. Get off the forum, go outside, and make friends now. For most people, it stops there. But for some,
you can always be thinner, look better.
That's how figures like Clavicular rise.
Yeah, but Clavicular, he's like 19, but he looks like he's 26. So really, he's just kind of aging himself to what is considered to be the prime age. But now, once he gets to 26, and trust me, he has a long time to really see the effects of some of the stuff that he's doing. Once he gets to 26, he's going to look like he's 36. And then the Looksmaxxing will have not worked.
Back in time, would you still take tests at 14 years old?
Absolutely, yeah. $35,000 for a double jaw surgery. I use crystal for hollow cheeks. I'm not a huge longevity guy.
He became famous inside the Looksmaxxing spaces for taking things further than anyone else. He posted about watching surgery videos so he could operate on himself, drug use, and about how you could use student loans to pay for plastic surgery, until he was reported to the university.
I was kicked out of uni for essentially roid maxing.
But by then, he was already a popular influencer. Most people are watching for the entertainment or shock value.
I literally witnessed Clav snort meth. Literally. Witnessed it.
While others see him as proof that if you're willing to sacrifice everything, you could ascend. The media
he's willing to sacrifice stuff that he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand anything about longevity because he's 20 years old, and at 20 years old, you feel like you are invincible. Yeah, at 20, that's about the age where you think you understand more than you actually do, and you don't actually even value life that much. As you get older, you really start to value life, and especially longevity, because you realize every time I go for a walk or I choose to eat something healthier versus something that's less healthy is another potential day I get to spend with my kids and my grandkids in good health on this earth. And those are the things you start to value more as you age, and you realize that you will eventually age. So him saying that he doesn't value longevity, you have to think about who that's coming from. That's coming from a 20-year-old. Nobody values longevity at 20. And I'll say this last thing. He's saying this while he's in good health. I'm telling you right now, once you lose your health, there is no such thing as Looksmaxxing. Looksmaxxing doesn't matter once you don't have your health. The only thing that matters once you have health issues is that health issue, and you realize how fragile life actually can be. There was a guy that I know is a huge content creator on this platform. His name is The Lead Attorney, and last year or a couple of years ago, he dealt with cancer, and he finally beat it. And I'll never forget, during his stream after he beat cancer, he said that good health is a crown, is an invisible crown worn by those that only the sick can see. So yeah, speed running life for the sake of vanity is just not worth it, bro. It's just not worth it, man.
Presents the darker side, like it's new, but we've seen something very similar before.
And now, Stacy, take off the bag. Here we go, and let's see the face.
That's not a bad looking girl. Wait, am I tripping, bro? This is not a bad looking woman. In fact, I think that she looks better than this girl. Hold up. She looks better than this lady, and she over here talking trash. Like, what are we doing right now? Am I tripping?
Is that a speed bump on the road?
That's not a bad looking woman.
This was classic 2000s television, where humiliation was entertainment, and where modern beauty culture went mainstream. Because today, the global beauty industry is worth over $600 billion. Back in the early 1900s, advertising was simple. You sold the product, the price, than the quantity.
Yep.
But for America, to enter its golden age of capitalism, something had to change. You see, you could only sell so many bars of soap. That's when companies started hiring psychologists to try and drive more sales, such as Edward Bernays, the father of modern PR.
They found out that you can make more money from hiring people to convince your product is better instead of just making your product better. So it's cheaper to hire people to convince people that your product is better than it is to hire people that to actually make your product better. And so the psychologists took over marketing, and they found out that you can sell more things if you impress on people emotionally instead of just trying to impress on people with the actual information for what the quality of the product is.
The nephew of Sigmund Freud, he believed people were irrational, insecure, impulsive, and emotional. And if you could tap into that, you could get them to buy anything. So he reframed products as symbols. He took cigarettes, which were taboo for women at the time, and branded them as torches of freedom. He linked smoking to female liberation.
Yeah, and one of the things they did to appeal to women is make a cigarette, but they just made it smaller and gave it a cute name. I forgot what the name was, but it was like a smaller cigarette essentially, and they said, well, this is a cigarette for women. And because it was the symbol of freedom and rebellion, a lot of women jumped on the bandwagon and just got addicted to nicotine. And then when they realized the jig was up and the millennials kind of killed smoking because millennials just decided not to smoke. Now, millennials did drink, but they didn't smoke as much. Those same tobacco companies, guess what they did? They said, let's make it blueberry flavored. And then they started making vapes. And then it kind of caught wave and went with Gen Z.
Cigarette sales soared. This is where marketers started really focusing on pressing on pain points. With classics like, if men hate the sight of you, read this. Romance dies of a touch of dishpan hands. This is no shape for a girl. It's far more profitable to market inferiority. I'm not a communist or anti-business, but there's definitely a line that gets crossed. When tabloids fat-shame Britney Spears for clicks, when heroin chic was sold as a beauty ideal, out of that came eating disorder communities, risky cosmetic procedures, and generations of women who hated their reflection. For decades, this machine was aimed almost entirely at women, but now it's being pointed at men. We have drugs being used as glow-up tools. Instead of airbrushed magazine covers, you get fabricated AI glow-ups, which thousands of people are falling for. This is where it started going wrong for me. I was copying fitness influencers' disordered eating tips, spending most of my money on useless fat burners, and I picked up health issues from nutrient deficiencies. Despite looking better, I felt worse. When you turn self-worth into a product, someone always pays the price. The people staring at the screen, wondering what's wrong with them.
This guy has now had 10 surgeries in a year, and he says he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, including the latest procedure just a few weeks ago where his eyes were turned outwards again.
Come on now, man.
Not even the people paying tens of thousands for the best surgeries are guaranteed to have no complications. Take leg lengthening surgery. It costs over $100,000 and involves breaking both femurs and slowly pulling them apart over months. If it works, you gain a few inches of height, but you also lose athleticism. And in worst case scenarios, it can lead to amputation. Now, these are extreme, but the tools behind them are now being repackaged and marketed.
Spending $60,000 to be taller and then accidentally being shorter because you have to cut your legs off, it's crazy.
To far younger people. Teenagers who'd be turned away by doctors are turning to Telegram chats, forums, and grey market labs to chase the same changes.
After 6 weeks, I had liver failure.
How the fucking liver failure? How?
It was hard because every night, every single hour, my parents came in my room to check if I was dead, basically.
Yet, these are often glorified and promoted to teenagers.
Looksmaxxing communities are almost competing with each other to try and come up with the most extreme remedies possible for improving your looks.
But by far the most harmful consequences for most people are the psychological ones. I fell into the trap of obsessing over flaws and being hypercritical, because focusing on what I wasn't good at helped me improve in sports and at school. But that mindset started bleeding into everything. I became hard on myself full stop, to the point where when someone would compliment me, I'd assume that they were mocking me. I stopped socializing as much, and I'd feel guilty about when I ever felt okay about myself. What keeps you stuck in this is how comforting that harshness can feel, because somewhere along the way, you start believing that suffering equals progress. But live like that long enough, and you stop believing progress is even possible. Psychologists call it learned helplessness, when repeated failure convinces you nothing you ever do will be good enough.
I think that this is what happened after like the hustler push. for a little bit, all of the teenagers were trying to be like hustlers. They were trying to start like businesses, drop shipping businesses, and trying to become millionaires before the age of 20 because they would go on Instagram and see all these 22-year-old streamers that are living these lavish lives. And by the way, most of them were lying, and most of them were just pretending to be rich and famous so that they could get more attention online, right? But either way, there was this huge push towards like this hustle culture, and I think that this is something that happened to those people who were trying to do that. Most people aren't going to have a business. Most people aren't going to be millionaires, and I think when you live in a time where you feel like maybe even owning a home seems to be unobtainable, you just try to focus on the things you feel like you can control, or the things that seem to be more in your reach to control. And that's why people turn to Looksmaxxing. That kind of came from that hustler grind mentality.
You stop trying. A lot of these people convince themselves that they're bottlenecked by their 7 out of 10 looks, not the fact their other attributes are at a 2 out of 10, or they've consumed so much pseudo-scientific slop that their self-esteem is non-existent.
You know, you went on this when you were like a 17-year-old. That's how you first found out about Looksmaxxing and started using these forums. You're now 20.
20, yep.
Are you happier now after all this?
No, wasted so much time, and the perception of myself right now is worse than ever.
We see this with celebrities who keep altering their appearance, even when they already look great. But this pattern isn't new. The ancient Greeks actually had a cautionary tale that captures the darker side of this obsession perfectly.
Yeah, there are plenty of verses in the Bible that talk about the dangers of vanity.
Mythology, Narcissus was a young man who once caught his reflection in a still pool of water. Mesmerized, he kept staring, mistaking it for someone else. He became obsessed, stopped eating, and stopped sleeping, eventually wasting away beside the image he could never touch. A narcissus flower grew in his place, which is where the word narcissism comes from.
Wow, I
didn't
didn't know
Did you
that.
ever think that maybe there's more to life than being really, really, really ridiculously good looking?
Harvard psychiatrist Dr. Harrison Pope has spent decades studying what he calls the adonis complex, a condition where men become obsessed with their appearance and believe they're never muscular or attractive enough, even when they already look great.
Yeah, I try to tell guys, if you can bench 225 pounds, you are within the top 1% of the strongest people on the planet. So it's really not that hard to attain. It's just the problem is people start comparing themselves to other people who can lift more, and then they feel like they can't lift as much because they're just comparing themselves to people who are a little bit higher in that percentage. But if you have a six-pack in America, you're more rare than a millionaire. There are more people that are millionaires in America now than there are men that have six-pack abs. So if you just keep yourself in relatively decent shape, you can be more rare than a literal millionaire.
From the outside, it looks like narcissism, but Pope's research shows it's often the opposite. Body dysmorphia for men, driven by unrealistic standards and constant comparisons. But what helped pull me out of my own spiral with fitness wasn't affirmations or self-belief slogans. It was a book from the 1960s that was way ahead of its time. In the 1960s, a plastic surgeon named Maxwell Maltz noticed something strange. Some patients completely changed their faces and still felt ugly. Others barely changed at all and suddenly became more confident and more social. The surgery alone wasn't what changed their lives. It was how they saw themselves. If someone believed they were broken, no new face could fix it. Self-image isn't just how you see yourself, it's how you think the world sees you. As one sociologist put it, you're not who you think you are, you're not who others think you are, you're who you think others think you are. That's the paradox. Improving how you look can improve how you feel, but only when it's not rooted in hate. This is what I wish I realized sooner, back when I was struggling with disordered eating and exercise habits. I don't know if I'd have listened to this, but I should have focused on things more holistically. In other words, focusing on trying to be good rather than just looking good.
Right.
I'm a big proponent for self-improvement, but a bit of self-acceptance isn't being complacent. Without it, you're wide open to the worst parts of the fitness and beauty industry. Improve how you look if you want to. Just don't let an algorithm decide what you're worth.
Right. Yeah, all of this is true. And then when you realize the financial incentive that a lot of the influencers who are in the Looksmaxxing community have to push this type of stuff on people, I mean, they're literally making hundreds of thousands of dollars per month talking about these topics. And so they have to keep the carnival going, right? They have to keep coming up with new ideas. And this is why it becomes more and more extreme. There's just no reason a 14-year-old young man should be talking about Looksmaxxing. All of us were ugly at that age, brother. It's normal. Let me know in the comments below if this video was a W or L, and give me the HBO special. That's out, brother. Out special. Hit the like and the subscribe button for more content. Till next time.